First of all, I hope you're all enjoying the content. I sure am enjoying the content. So I'm Anand Dahire, and I run product management for DevOps offerings at ServiceNow. But more importantly, I've been associated with VSMC for close to 2 years, sit on the board, and I'm just loving the evolution of the conversation this year, right? Last year, I remember, it was just too theoretical, amorphous. And on the other end, it was just too motherhood and apple pie stuff like, obviously, oh, you should focus on value. You should not have siloed organizations. Just absolutely loving that evolution this year where, the enterprises and the practitioners coming and sharing their stories, their successes, more importantly, their failures. I mean, the stories that we heard since morning, Telstra and Shutterstock, Deutsche Telekom, the Beku one right now, just amazing, right? So that's exactly what we're going to do in this session too. So in this session, I'm going to have request Dean, who's from Unum, share their story of their journey. And a journey, it's not still midway, as he'll tell you. And then bring a couple of my colleagues from ServiceNow who think about this space a lot, thought leaders, and they will share their experiences of working with customers. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Dean. Go ahead, Dean.
Thank you very much. All right, hello everybody. So I work for Unum. I'm a director of IT delivery there. I'm here to talk to you about the Connect stage, brought to you by the colour pink. But more accurately, I'm here to talk to you about my experience working through the Connect stage. So you can't tell me I'm doing it wrong. First of all, who are we? So Unum, a lot of people haven't heard of Unum. Unum is an employee benefits company. As the catchphrase goes, helping the working world thrive through life's moments. 175 years new, been around a little while now, collected a lot along the way, as you can imagine. Number 266 on the Fortune 500 last time I checked. More internally, there's around about 10,000 employees. And where our remit comes under is around about 100 software delivery teams. And I politely describe it as technically diverse and complex. And my colleague there has a smile on his face. He understands exactly what I mean. When you've got an organization like that sort of size, been around that long, you kind of got a bit of everything. And that, it makes it interesting, that's for sure. I dream of startups sometimes, that's for sure. So myself, director of the team called Engineering Excellence. We are an engineering center of excellence, otherwise known as the DevOps team, but it does span much beyond CI/CD. According to team topologies, we have a dual purpose. We operate as an enabling team, enabling the value stream teams to perform. And we're also responsible for the end-to-end software engineering platform. So with that in mind, we are responsible for digital transformation engagements or DevOps engagements, software engineering best practices, keeping up with the industry, and aligning the delivery teams to those practices. We do that through assessments. Wasn't a favorite word for some, I think. Then with the end-to-end engineering platform, it's a lot around expanding it, simplifying it, automating it, and that involves a lot of consultation, guidance, and support. We don't build CI/CD for the teams, but we have to get very much engaged in consulting with them and helping them and recommending best practices as we go. And just my own background is a little bit varied as well. I started off in development, like a lot of folks, moved into databases, data analytics, worked on the ops side, various orgs and industries from startup to enterprise. And like I said, startup looks very attractive sometimes. I reside in Ireland. I've worked within the UK, the US, and also New Zealand, where I call home. So when we undertake a DevOps transformation, we do it by connecting the numbers. We start off by assessing the software delivery teams and their engineering practices, and we refer to these as our leading indicators. They're our inputs, and more importantly, these are the behaviours of the teams that affect the outcomes. At this point, it's hard to measure. It's a qualitative assessment. We sit down with the teams, we discuss with the teams, we engage and align, set them goals for how they can move forward. Because it's hard to measure, it's qualitative, but at that point, it's easier to influence. Then we have lagging indicators, and this is where VSM starts to come in. They're our outputs or our outcomes of one or more of those inputs. At this point, it's easy to measure, relatively, because it's numbers coming from tools. It's quantitative. But at this point, it's harder to influence. So we've got our leading indicators, reflects the DevOps maturity, our lagging indicators, they reflect the outcomes. That gives us the how do you do it through your practices, and the why. It helps to explain why they should engage in some of those practices. But it's when you connect the two together, when you marry them up, that's where the learning indicators come in. And that's where growth really takes place. So it's that relationship between the leading and the lagging that we're really looking for. So why value stream management? Or what were we experiencing before value stream management? And I think a lot of these stories, it's not unique to Unum. It's familiar to a lot of you already. We had an opaque view of software engineering. In fact, I think I can say the only persona who had a fair idea of what was going on was the software engineers. It was no surprise to them. But even they didn't have the collective insight of an overall view. We had the software engineering practices, but we would get, so what? Why should we invest in these practices? What will it give us? What are the outcomes? And to the comment above, why should a leader invest in resolving a problem they don't know that they have? We had a limited ability to visualize our risks or our constraints. So when we look at things like code quality, when we look at things like security and vulnerabilities, often the software engineer would understand, but it wasn't being communicated up through the chain. The visibility of those were not there. And because they weren't there, there was a complete focus in the software delivery team on business enablers. They are not investing in a problem they don't know that they have, so there's plenty of requirements coming from the business, from the product owners, fully feeding the software delivery teams, and so that's where all the time went. We were not able to get any traction in keeping up with continuous improvement, resolving technical debt, making advancements in that side of things. Ops reliant on a dev viewpoint. So when we think about that sort of thing, a delivery team wants to release to production. They approach CAB. Hello, CAB. We'd like to release to production. We're ready. CAB comes in, gets the clipboard out. Okay, so I'm oversimplifying here for illustrative purposes. So they've got their clipboard out and they're like, okay, have you completed your testing? So, yeah, sure, we've completed our testing. Let's not share too much here. So there were only 3 tests and 2 of them passed. But yes, we completed the testing. Okay, tick. Right. What about your security checks? How are your vulnerabilities? Oh, that's good. That's really good. Trust us. We've got plenty of those. Okay, tick. Right, you're ready to go on. And so the quality and the security tools were underutilized. We were proud of our engineering platform. A lot of work's gone into it. We still need to guide, to do that through transparency. But not everybody was using them, and we didn't have visibility of who was or who wasn't. And we had those tools connected, but the outcomes were not bubbling up. It was very easy to hide. And then to my comment on the right, why is software engineering different? And I know I'm preaching to the converted here. One of it is the fact that it's dynamic, right? You're not trying to do the same thing exactly. Like in lean manufacturing, you want the same outcomes. But for me, it's the intangible nature of software engineering, the fact that you can't see it. That makes it so much more complex. And then you add to the complexity. You might have geographically dispersed teams. They might have their own tools, their own metrics. Then you've got their wait time and all sorts of other dependencies and factors there where if you can't see it, you can't measure it. So it's the intangible nature of software engineering which makes it so complex. So we set out to break that down, to make it tangible. And so with our implementation of VSM, what has it given us? It's enabled us to answer a lot of questions first up, such as how fast are we moving? Are we actually improving? How quickly are we recovering? Are we ready to release? Are we secure? Are we compliant? Is our testing thorough? If it's so thorough, then why do we have so many incidents? Where is our time even being spent? Are we delivering? And what we're working towards is, are we delivering value? Because ultimately, it's in our quest to make the intangible tangible. We are bringing visibility to the otherwise unknown. We're creating data-driven quantitative connections where no connections have existed before. And that is enabling us to climb peaks beyond the DevOps plateau, where people tend to flatline. It's enabling us to optimize our flow end-to-end at scale amongst complexity, sometimes adversity, definitely a diversity, amongst an ever-changing landscape. We've had a phased approach. We've got this diagram here, more apt for digital value streams and certainly suitable for us. And it's a 4-stage maturity model, and I would proudly put ourselves down, down, down to that level 1, engineering VSM. This is where it's started for us, rightly or wrongly, is focusing narrowly on the engineering VSM, from the planning and tracking to the deployment stage. We're fully aware we want to expand beyond that. Many thanks to all of you for opening my eyes on what's possible. But it's a journey, right? And we're trying to do it at scale, and we're trying to do it right. And we've still got plenty of work to do at the engineering VSM. For us, that's the core of it. And that's where we're seeing those gains. That's where we're able to answer a lot of those questions. And then just a little sneak peek, similar diagram, taking it down to engineering VSM. And then just some of the tools that we've been able to connect so far. For example, we have Rally, which has our backlog management. We've got Azure DevOps that has our repositories, our pipelines, our test plans. We've got Veracode, which gives us security information. We've got SonarQube, which gives us all the code quality. JFrog X-Ray does our vulnerability, our dependency management more like. Octopus for deployments, and of course ServiceNow, which has got our incident, our change, release, our deploy. So with these various tools, we've been able to produce dashboards. We look at it from a point of view of flow, quality, and security. And for us, it's been a real focus on the quality and security initially, because that's what's been so intangible and lacking in that bubbling up to the surface. And by connecting these tools and showing flow, quality, and security, we've been able to highlight surprises, you could say, in the organization that they didn't know was there before. From a vulnerability point of view, X-Ray's able to show us from all those third-party open source libraries that teams use when they develop, what vulnerabilities are there, or license concerns. It was not known before, and now all of a sudden it's in people's face. What level of quality are you at? What's your code coverage at a value stream level? What's your reliability of the application or your value stream? What's your maintainability? And all sorts of other insights that we're able to get from quality. From flow, we're able to get the DORA metrics. And we're also able to look at things like, is it the right flow that's happening? Is it the right work items that you want to see flowing through your value stream? And is it the right sort of change? And lastly, what this has been able to give us that we've been looking for is traceability. So we're able to dot walk, if you like, through our value stream connections, sometimes through to individual lines of code that's given us these insights. So to have that complete traceability has enabled us to tell a clear story. So what's our feedback been like? It really depends on the persona that you ask. We ask the engineering teams, and what I hinted at earlier on, it's like, oh yeah, we already knew that. But now they have the collective insight and they realize that the data is being shared. It's like, hang on, can everyone see our numbers? It's a motivational factor for improvement, let's put it like that. Similar with the engineering leaders on the right. It was, depending on the perspective, a mixture of pride and panic. And again, a motivational factor for improvement because all of a sudden things are visible where they weren't visible before. The security groups, the testing center of excellence, relief, I think was the overriding emotion there. It's like, finally, everything is one place. This gives me some traction to take and go forwards rather than looking at things from individual tools and bits and pieces. Change and release have been able to integrate it into their ways of working because now they have tangible data to work with. And we're seeing it crack the door open into potential further automation. It's like, right, okay, I don't need to rely on my little clipboard checkbox. I can now see what your level of testing has been like, that 2 of your only 3 tests have actually passed. I can see what your vulnerability issues is like. So we can now work towards automating that. And then last but not least, IT audit. Finally, you're giving us the end-to-end visibility and traceability that we've been asking for. And then some of our learnings along this journey, we've been building it out over this last year. If I take the top right one first off, I think this has been my phrase of the year. It describes the way I like to work and it helps to justify it, is a bias towards action. And I'd much rather be moving, whether that's forwards and 2 steps forward, 1 step back, I'd rather be moving than standing still. So for us, we're probably guilty from not following the value stream roadmap perfectly, starting more to the right, more towards that connect stage. And I don't think we were able to skip any parts. I think we will now have to go back and retrofit in. But it's enabled us to start. We've started from a DevOps viewpoint, and it's giving us that point of view. And it's also raising up a lot of issues for us that otherwise wouldn't have gone noticed, such as where some of our configuration items in our CMDB are not perfectly aligned. Things like that bubble up through the surface of visibility. So yes, the progress doesn't have to be linear. It's a two-way door. We learn and adjust as we go. On the far side, not everyone wants transparency, expect mixed reactions, expect the unexpected. I think some other folks were already talking to this point. But for me, it's looking for interest. Sometimes we found visualizing their metrics of their value stream, it was disputed. Sometimes it was challenged, and we were able to work through to the individual source through our traceability to show how it was formed. But whether they liked what we were showing or not, it was explained, it was explored. We looked at it, we closely got to the point of collective understanding. And I'd much rather have that any day over apathy. So for me, it's interest over apathy. Fortunately, the apathy is rare in our org, but we have seen it in pockets. And I would be interested in some insights from you all and how you do deal with that side of things. You bring them all that visibility, and it's right, okay, back to the business enablers. And my last insight there is not specific to VSM, it's to visualizing any sort of quantitative measures, really. It's keeping it simple. You not only want people to be able to quickly and easily, at a glance, understand that dashboard or that particular measure that you're showing, but to also see why you're showing it. So the value behind the metric, why are they showing me this number? What do they expect me to read into this and do with? So it's that ability to, I see, and I see why. Hand it back to you.
No, I mean, Dean, thanks for sharing so far. Question to you. How long have you been on this journey?
We've really been building out in earnest this year.
Okay. But this is not the destination, right, for you? Where are you headed?
Absolutely not.
From here on? Share your vision with us, please. Yeah.
Okay, so we did start from a DevOps point of view. And I think it is thanks to you all, through the Value Stream Management Consortium, through the vendors, all the webinars, all the information that's shared. It's really helped open my eyes. Now, this is straight from the VSM Consortium training, so this is not my own slide. But we are working at optimizing the flow of work. We understand now that that is not our final destination. There's a lot of work to be done there. I don't want to take away from that. We've got so much to do in that space to keep us busy for a while, but we now realize that we really want to optimize the flow of value. We want to stretch that value stream further left and further right and get that collective insight, and that's where real value comes in.